I don't even know who I'm going to connect to. I just feel this overwhelming urge, or maybe even I'm surrounded by beings or deities or angels or, galactic beings that are like, you feel them and I just need to sit down and sit in meditation and get curious as to who's around me, what they're trying to tell me. And this is where a lot of these experiences for me come from.
Hello, my loves. This is Johanna Burkhardt. I am a multidimensional channel, teacher, healer, and author. And I am obsessed with all things metaphysical, esoteric, galactic, and of course, the healing journey. And I'm here to share my stories, my wisdom, and my teachings about being human in the illusion that we call reality. Welcome to Cosmic Blonde.
Hello, my loves. Oh my goodness. Today we are going to discuss and share messages from my future self, which, by the way, is also your higher self. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about who your higher self actually is, because us humans love to label things, right? Higher self, future self, past self. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to be in a physical. We're here to be more linear. We're here to have these experiences. And we like to label and box things in. But your future self and your higher self are actually one and the same. Because since there is no past or future, your future self is just somebody who is a little bit more evolved than you are right now. It's just someone who has expanded a little bit more and become a little bit more self-aware, someone who's even integrated more of the lessons. So in reality, your future self is your quote unquote higher self. It is somebody that has already walked the lesson, and all you're doing is basically tapping into a wormhole, right? Because everything's happening simultaneously, and saying, let me access this space and time for a moment to receive. And this is why meditation and shamanic journeys and the power of intention is so valuable and so important. And I will say that you can, it's not going to work. You should not go in with an expectation. If you are going into an experience like this, where you want to connect with your future self, you want to connect to your higher self, you want to connect to your past self, you want to connect to another lifetime, and there's something particular you are looking for. If you have an expectation, if you have a desire, if there's something that you have narrowed in on that you want to hear, it's it's not going to get you anywhere. You're going to be disappointed. 95% of the time when I do this, when I do these experiences, they are from a point of curiosity. 9 times out of 10, I will just have this overwhelming feeling or knowing that I need to sit my butt down, put on my noise canceling headphones, close my eyes, and go into a state of meditation to connect to this or to connect to that. And sometimes I don't even know who I'm going to connect to. I just feel this overwhelming urge, or maybe even I'm surrounded by beings or deities or angels or, galactic beings that are like, you feel them and I just need to sit down and sit in meditation and get curious as to who's around me, what they're trying to tell me. And this is where a lot of these experiences for me come from. And it really felt important for me to start there, because we know that this may inspire people to do just this, to connect to their future self or their higher self or another version of themselves, right? This is why we are multidimensional, so that we can support ourselves. It's a web, it's an interconnected web. And we're at the center of it, right? Our soul is at the center of it. And outside of that web, there is thousands upon thousands, if not infinite amounts of versions of us having different experiences all at the same time, sending information like the World Wide Web back and forth to each other to help evolve, right? Because we're trying to evolve our soul, we're trying to evolve ourselves forward and humanity. And so, of course, there's just not one version of us doing this. Of course, there are a multitude of versions of us in um, different realities, different timelines, right? Um, Even multiple version of us walking this earth in different frequencies, doing something very similar, but maybe, you know, a few distinct differences, giving us a fighting chance at really evolving ourselves and humanity forward. And that's why um, being here, being on Earth, right, it is such a blessing. It really is. I'm sure a lot of people don't think so. And there's times when I don't think so, just, in all transparency. But I mean, I wouldn't be human if I always thought so. But, anyways, let's get into this episode because there was so much beauty in this. And I will say this is coming from a journal entry from September 27th, 2021. And I'm having a lot of fun actually going through my journals. So there was a reason in particular, I think I talked about this in another episode, but there's a reason in particular I was actually looking through all my old journals. I've been on the search for one particular metaphysical experience that I had. And I haven't had any luck finding that one, but man, have I come across some good ones. And I thought, what a great opportunity to share, especially from a space of hindsight, these experiences that have had. And so I'm so grateful that I chose to do this. So again, I went into meditation, with the intention of connecting to my future self, to receive from her, to see her, to feel her. And I know back then I definitely saw her majority of the time as a light being. Usually when I see my higher self or future self, she's always coming in. It almost looks like evening gowns, and it's so strange because for those of you who really know me, who followed me for a long time, I'm a yoga pant girl, at least the past 4 years. I live in yoga pants and sports bras. I mean, it's just how I'm just more comfortable that way. And I'm just not a fan of clothes. I do like to dress up. I just haven't really had any place to dress up. But I always find it hilarious because she comes in like full blown evening gowns, like almost like Cinderella style A-line, white sparkly dresses, slit up one thigh. She's always got long blonde hair, very gorgeous, very light, very free. And she just feels like she could fly. She feels so like she has no weight on her. And it's a feeling that I love to tap into because we carry so much baggage on earth, like emotional baggage. And something that I'm known for saying, and that the guides have said often, is uh the words we speak share the answers that we seek, right? Hold the answers that we seek, something to that effect. And one of the things that I often talk about or have talked about, and that I hear come out a lot out of my mouth, is wanting to be free. And freedom is not about financial freedom or freedom from a job or a relationship or the government. Freedom is always rooted in the baggage that we carry, the emotional weight that we carry in our body, the stresses, the heaviness. That's all. Freedom is all. It's it. Because think about it. If you were to have all the money in the world, if you were to have your dream career or business, your dream relationship, what is that going to give you? It's going to give you freedom, freedom to be authentic, freedom to do what you want, freedom to live the way that you want, freedom to experience things the way that you want. It's a freedom. At the end of the day, you're wanting freedom, right? You're wanting that feeling of no weight, no burden. And so I love tapping into her because she has figured it out. She she does not carry burdens, you know. So she always comes in light and free, and I always embrace her and um, have that transfer of energy where I get to have that experience of feeling what it is to be free. And that's important, if you understand manifestation. Jesus says it so well, know that it is done. But besides knowing that it's done, is you have to feel that feeling, because that's what it is. Whatever it is that you want, whatever it is you're manifesting, it's going to make you feel something. So if you can tap into that feeling, it is going to accelerate the creating, because the mind creates the thought, right? Or the thought creates an emotion. The emotion creates an action. The action creates a manifestation. That is it in a nutshell. So you have to feel the feeling that the thing is going to be giving you. And that's it. Like, this $1 billion industry is broken down to this 30-second little clip. It's it. But it's so simple that it confuses the hell out of everybody. It's just not, it couldn't be that easy, right? But it is. The other part that makes it not so easy is that you have to do it on repetition, like anything, like anything. So when I tapped into her, um, she told me that what I can't see right now is that there are people watching me, watching how much I give, how I deliver sensitive information, how compassionate I am, and that they are waiting for the right time to reach out. I wrote, I think this has a lot to do with seeing myself, because she asked me to imagine what it would feel like to truly be seen. And I remember when I allowed myself to feel what it would feel like to truly be seen, it was intense. It was intense, because when somebody truly sees you, they see all of you. They see that when you're speaking on a stage, it's not something that you just learned. That came from pain. It came from action. It came from hardship. It came from blood, sweat, tears, joy, laughter, practice. It came from so much. And on a side note, I want to bring this in because it's a perfect opportunity. A lot of times we feel like we're not enough, or we're not valuable enough to be seen, to be on a stage, to be on a podcast, to be a teacher, a healer, to have that career, to have that person in our life. But let me tell you something. There's been these little synchronicities showing up in my life recently that's really had me changing how I see my worth. And I'm just going to use a regular example. So I charge a rate by the hour, right? So right now, to have a session with me, I believe it's $225 for 60 minutes. And I used to offer sales on my sessions. Um, I offer private mentorship. I think right now private mentorship is $4,000. And I used to really want to, well, I do want to charge more. I will say that. But I've gone through these phases of going back and forth on discounting my services and not ever doing it again. And I go through these phases of battling with myself over what I charge, over what I charge. And then I just set a price and was like, this is going to be the price until I want to change it. And that's it, because I know it isn't about the hour. I'm not charging for the hour. You're not paying me for an hour of my time. And I didn't know how to articulate that. And I didn't know how to translate that energetically. And then I was listening to, I don't even know what I was listening to, a podcast, an audio book, which for all I know, it could have been a TikTok. But it actually came in a bunch of different ways. The same story, but different. And I'm going to give you an example of one. There was a copy machine that was broken. And they really, this cop, like this, I think it was a copy machine. It doesn't really matter. This machine was broken in this building, and it literally halted all of their work, halted all of their production. They couldn't do anything, right? They called in all these people that are supposed to be pros at fixing this machine, and nobody could figure it out. And they finally called in this one person, and they said, like, this person had to travel. Can you come, please? We'll do anything. We really just need to get this machine up. So this person comes in. He looks at the machine. He takes out a penny. He turns a screw, a half a turn. The machine works. He said, your machine's fixed. The people say, oh, yay, send me an invoice. He sends an invoice for $10,000. The man was there maybe 5 minutes. So the owners call up and says, could you please itemize this? You were here for 5 minutes. And I said, sure. And I think he put $1 for the 15 or 5 minutes he was there, and $9,999 for knowing what screw to turn and how far to turn it. You're not paying that person for their time. You're paying them for their wisdom, because that person probably failed at fixing 100 machines before he figured out that with a penny and turning it a quarter of a turn one way, it makes everything work smoothly. And then there was another similar story um, about a boat that was in the ocean that was broken down. And they called in all these people, all these engine specialists, all these things. And finally, they found this person that said he knew how to fix it. So they flew him out to the boat. He took a hammer, hit a certain spot on the motor, engine turned over. They were able to successfully get this huge ship, because it wasn't a boat, it was a ship, huge ship, back into port. Again, they say, send me an invoice. He sends him an invoice for $20,000. Again, the owner of the boat or ship says, can you please itemize this? You were there for 15 minutes. And again, he comes back with, something like $1 for the hammer and $19,999 for knowing exactly where to hit the motor with the hammer. Because again, you weren't paying for his time. You are paying for his wisdom. And so your value comes from your experience, from your trials and tribulations, from the path that you have walked, for the hardships that you have done, for the blood, sweat, and tears, for everything. Your value is within you. It has nothing to do with your time or what you have necessarily. It has everything to do with your experience with yourself. And this is why, again, I'm such a huge preacher of be the change. Be the change. Work on yourself. Focus on you. Work on you, because that is where the value is. That is a value that reaps and rewards tenfold, right? So whether it is just you, an avid reader of personal development, or working with a coach and doing private mentorship, or taking courses, or going back to school, use that information to further your personal development, to expand your self-awareness, to allow yourself to change your beliefs and to change your life. And that creates wisdom that can't be replaced. It's so valuable. It's so valuable. So, complete side note, but I felt that it was worthy of bringing in. So anyway, I remember this moment of being seen and how intense it felt, because they see all of you. They see the pain, they see the joy, they see the vulnerability. They see, when somebody sees you, they see you, right? They see you. And sometimes we don't want to be seen. We do want to be seen, but we don't want to be seen because we're afraid people are going to see that maybe we have insecurities. We're afraid people are going to see that maybe we don't have it all together. Maybe people will see that we have shame and guilt inside of us still. Maybe people will see something that we're not even ready to see yet. Maybe sometimes people see our value that we can't even see, and it makes us uncomfortable. And so being seen is super intense. And so when she was telling me that somebody was watching me, it really was, for me, a translation of see yourself, because there's somebody who is seeing you. And you have to see you in the way that they see you. You have to see yourself in that most intimate way. You've got to get acquainted with that version of you, and get comfortable seeing you. Because if you're not comfortable seeing yourself, you will not be comfortable being seen by someone else, let alone a whole crowd of people or a stadium full of people, right? If you just want your partner to truly see you or your parents to truly see you, you have to see yourself. You have to really be willing to see yourself. She asked me to imagine what it would feel like to be held by the universe, to know I was safe, that there was more than enough money, time, energy, and support. It felt like a massive forward movement, like I suddenly had all the resources I needed. I just felt restored and I felt full of resources. And it was interesting because, again, we always tend to seek outside of ourselves. I need a full-time job to feel safe. I need to have a home to feel safe. I need to be married to feel safe or have a partner to feel safe. I need X, Y, and Z to feel safe, right? But if you can imagine being held by the universe and realize that all of those things are just energy at their core, right? And this is science, right? Everything is made up of atoms and molecules. It's all energy first. Then you can tap into that infinite supply of resources. So you're not looking to be held or supported or safe by anything other than the universe. And that was a powerful experience for me. It is one that I still continue to use. I do change the way that I word it a little bit, but it is a practice that I still tap into. And then she brought in, you will find him. You do meet him. I have been craving, and I've talked about this in several episodes as well, my divine counterpart. And of course, we all know that starts with really being the person that you're wanting to call in, right? You have to, again, you have to be the change. You have to be the frequency of that in which you are desiring. You have to be able to sustain it. So if you are craving somebody, this is just an example, who is emotionally intelligent or emotionally available, you have to be those things for yourself. You do. If you're craving someone who's confident and strong, you have to be those things as well. It doesn't mean that you can't have them outside of you in your partner, but you have to be those things because you're only ever going to attract what you are, not what you desire. And that's powerful. Um, but she had some advice for me, and I actually really found value in it rereading it today, right? Because I have not found my divine partner. But I am more and more, I'm closer and closer every day to meeting that person as I become that person, right? So she says, we do find him. He isn't going to have that crazy spark or attraction. That is really important for everybody to hear. It's not that you won't be attracted to the person, but you won't have butterflies. Butterflies are a sign of a toxic relationship. It doesn't mean that you won't learn something in that relationship. It doesn't mean there won't be value in that relationship. There's value in everything. I don't care if it's good or bad. There's value in everything. But when we have butterflies, what a lot of people don't understand is that is our nervous system is saying that that person is familiar. They have similar energy to someone that we've already had trauma with in our life thus far. And so there is a familiarity there. There's a comfort there. There's an attraction there because our inner children are always seeking reconciliation. So they are always trying to call in people, places, and things to help us reconcile past energies and current realities. And so when you have that spark or that butterfly or that infatuation, that should be your first red flag. So she is reminding me that you aren't going to have that crazy spark. You're not going to have that, oh my God, head to toe, or the butterflies in the stomach. You're not going to have that crazy spark of infatuation. And let me tell you, since I started dating a year ago, I have had two relationships. I wouldn't call them relationships, situationships, because they were only a few weeks each time, where there was a huge spark. There was an instant infatuation. There was an instant chemical dopamine, oxytocin and dopamine, serotonin, all the chemicals releasing. You're like, oh my God. And every time I hear myself say I'm in trouble, because I can feel the feeling and I go, oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble because this feels way too good. It's it's not a good thing. It's just not. So anyway, she says there isn't going to be a crazy spark or attraction. He will feel safe, like a best friend, but you will also enjoy looking at him because that's important, I find. And it doesn't mean that is drop dead gorgeous or looks a particular way. When you see somebody's soul, when you see somebody's heart, it changes things. And I did one of the first relationships I had after my marriage, which was earlier this year. I met somebody who I know is a soulmate. I just know. I don't think we were quite ready for each other just yet. And we do have multiple soulmates. It's important for you to understand that. A soulmate can be a friend, can be a lover. Um, but I know that he is definitely a soulmate. He didn't look he was attractive, but he did not look like anything that I had ever gone for before. He wasn't someone I would normally be attracted to, but I looked into his eyes and I knew. I immediately saw his soul and I felt peaceful. I remember telling um my girlfriend and nicknaming him Sweet Soul before I had even really talked to him much. And then the first time we went on a date, and we had talked for probably 2.5, 3 weeks on the phone, like 2 hours every night before we met in person. And we shared everything about each other. Like, I mean, long, deep, intimate conversations. When we met in person for the first time, I wanted to lay my head on his shoulders because I just felt like I was home. I didn't have butterflies. I just felt safe. I literally wanted to crawl up into his lap and be like, oh my God, finally you're here. And I needed to have that relationship. It doesn't mean he won't come back around. We won't come back together. Again, I don't think we were quite ready for each other at that moment. But it allowed me to have that feeling of understanding what it would feel like to meet a divine counterpart. Um, and she said that he would heal so many things for me. Not because I can't heal them for myself, but once I have started to heal those things inside of me, it's like he comes around and shows that externally, right? He is the manifestation of a safe partner. He is the manifestation of a divine partner. It continues the healing process. When you heal it energetically, you're going to end up having a physical experience, which almost cements the healing into place. Sometimes that is a lesson in boundaries. Sometimes that is an in-person trigger, and sometimes it's the very thing that you desire the most, and it's testing you. You've healed this energetically. Let's see if you can actually play this out in the physical. And this is why I said I didn't think him and I were quite ready for each other because we didn't do such a great job of navigating that safe relationship. But we still talk, so there's still hope. But anyway, when I was listening to her give me this advice, um, I felt my heart just bust wide open. And I felt peace. I felt expanded. I felt safe, and that I didn't need to hide any part of myself, that I could just be and I would be held in the most loving, safe energy. And that right there, oh, that that is worth every heartbreak and every toxic relationship I've ever had. It is. And that's why I know and I believe her that we do find him, that we do. So I asked her some questions. I said, what can I do? Like what can I learn from you? What are my, because I'm an action oriented person. Like it's so great to have these physical experiences or these energetic experiences, but I'm always looking for the tangible. What is something tangible that I can do? She said, get to know you, get to know you. Try things, go places, keep doing new and uncomfortable things. Get comfortable with you. The only way you can truly get to know you is to do things that you wouldn't normally do. To see, do I like this? Do I not like this? Can I do this uncomfortable thing? And how do I navigate it? How do I react to it? How do I handle when things are hard? And let me just say, so this was, what did I say? September of 21. It was um, the end of 21 when I knew I was getting ready to move and do something super uncomfortable. And it was April of 22 when I started my nomad journey. And that was, and I'm technically I'm still on it, but it has been the epitome of living in uncertainty and navigating. And when I tell you that I've hit rock bottom on that journey 1,000 times and stood back up, I'm not kidding. And it has allowed me to trust myself and know that no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. It's like it's helped me to embody the fearlessness that I know that I am without, because a lot of times when people are fearless, they're adrenaline junkies and they do dangerous things. I do things that people think are dangerous that really are not. That it makes it dangerous is because I have the amount of faith and trust in myself. That's what makes it dangerous, not the actual act itself. Some people go, oh my God, that's so dangerous. And it's like, no, I feel safe in me. So I don't have to always do safe things. I actually prefer to live outside of my comfort zone because that is where you grow. That is where the magic happens. It never happens in the box. It just doesn't. So I listened to her, and I have tried new things. I have gone to new places. I've definitely done the uncomfortable things. And I think I know myself now better than I've ever known myself. And I still feel like there's so much more to get to know, right? And so again, every experience, good or bad, has value in it because it's telling me something. It's teaching me something about myself or where I need to grow within myself. And that that is power, right? That is wisdom. That is value that I'm gaining by just walking the journey. Isn't that wild? Whenever you get in your head, she says, snap a wristband um, or consciously come back to what is happening now in front of you. Tap back into the feeling of what you desire as many times as you need to. So I will tell you, I never did the wristband thing. And it's weird that this is coming up because someone who, in the beginning of my journey, was a instrumental, foundational part was Gabby Bernstein. The first couple of years of my spiritual journey, I mean, I'm a Spirit Junkie Masterclass alumni. I've flown to see her and trained with her in New York several times. Like, I really resonated with her. I stopped resonating with her probably in 2018, 2019, around that 18, 19 mark. I don't know what changed, but I moved on, right? We're not supposed to use the same mentors. I got what I needed from her and I moved on. But anyway, rambling. Um, I don't really follow her, but I randomly saw a video of her. It was a short, and again, I could tell that I mean, I didn't, I wasn't following her, so she just came up in my For You page, and someone was asking her this question, and she said that she said that she used a rubber band and she would snap it on her wrist. So I'm sure it works, and if you feel called to try it, I would try it. But for me, it's always coming back to what is happening. So anytime I have racing thoughts or anytime my head is super busy, I come back to what's in front of me. And I think I actually taught this in the soul flow experience where we went through coping mechanisms and things that bring you back, right? Things that you can probably learn in therapy or somatic work. But what I do is I come back to, okay, what's in front of me? You know, I can look at colors or I can just look and go, okay, I see I see a window, and through the window I see trees, and I see a roof, and I see it's covered in snow, and I see the road, and I see the blue sky, and I see the things on my wall, and I see this, I see that, and just come back to what is in front of me. That brings me present. It brings me to what is, and not what could be or what was or whatever the story is playing out in my head. Because we have to accept what is before we can be open to what's next. And all of that is about being in the present moment, right? If you're in the future, you're probably anxious. You're probably in fear of some sort. You're probably weighing consequences and looking at, okay, there's four different ways this can go down. These are the consequences for all four ways. If I do this way, I can do this. If I go this way, I can do this. If I choose this path, I can do this. It's like it's such a hypervigilant trauma response. It truly is. And it doesn't happen a whole lot for me anymore. Every now and then I'll catch myself. But coming back to the present moment is the power. And in fact, um, that's something that is a theme. If you've ever been someone who've taken courses with me, is teaching presence, because it's one of the most powerful things that we can ever learn in this life. Um, so anyway, let me get back to this. That is all you need, is to come back to this present moment, is to be here. So I think, I'm not going to say I've mastered it, but I'm really good at it. Really good at getting out of my head now and coming back to this moment and accepting what is in this moment. Even if I don't like it, acceptance is not agreement. But I have gotten really good at coming back to this moment and going, this is what it is. In fact, yesterday I was feeling boredom, and it almost felt like depression or disappointment. But I knew I wasn't depressed, and I had no reason to be disappointed. So I laid down on my bed and I stared up at my ceiling, no TV on, no music, no anything, just sat there. And I tapped into my body and I said, this is what it feels like to be bored. By the way, I can't stand being bored. I cannot stand being bored. Um, there's two different feelings of boredom for me. Peace can often feel like boredom, and disappointment can often feel like boredom. The lens of perception is what changes what it looks like or feels like. When we oftentimes feel peace but mistake it with boredom, we will call in drama. We will call in trauma. We will call in chaos. We will create things that need to be done, or will create and stir the pot up. I actually even knew somebody who was really, actually, I know a couple people who are really good at stirring the pot. And it's probably because they're bored in their own life or disappointed with their own life and need to create entertainment for themselves. But I have also been in places where, like yesterday, where it almost felt like disappointment, like this isn't enough. And I have the not enough wound. And at times I feel like I will never be satiated. I will always feel insatiable. And I have to just accept that. I do. I have to accept that I am just insatiable and that I may never feel like anything is enough. But the more I can come into acceptance of that, the more I can let go of it. That's the craziest part about it. We think if we hold on to it, and I'm not holding on to it, but if we're okay with it, that we're actually saying it's okay not to be enough. And instead, I'm saying it's okay to feel that. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is it's okay to feel like it's not enough. It's okay, because we're infinite beings. We're infinite beings. When we are in our light body, we can have whatever we want. We can go everywhere we want. We can do anything, right? All we have to do is align to that frequency, and boom, there it is. As humans, it is way more complicated than that, because there is a physical delay in manifestation that just fucks it all up. And so we never feel like it's enough, and that's okay. It's okay. And so all you have to do is be okay with the fact that that's what is. And so I laid there. I was like, this is what boredom feels like. And I kind of feel disappointed or like this isn't enough. And I just sat there and I was like, it's not that I'm disappointed. It's not that it's not enough. I'm just bored. And it's okay to be bored right now. And as soon as I came into acceptance with the fact that I was bored, it actually shifted and I could care less. And I moved on and I ended up doing something that randomly that I wasn't expecting to do. So I have learned. This is so cool for me actually to be reading these and going, ah, I listened. Like, look how far I've come, you know? And this is why I think journaling is so cool too. Okay, celebrate everything from a dime to a time, acknowledge and say thank you, more please, appreciate it. God, do I love that line. Celebrate everything from a dime to a time. And I have actually really have gotten good at noticing when something spectacular is happening. And it may not be spectacular to anybody else, but to me, it's spectacular. And just really being present in that moment. I'll still take 100 pictures. It's just who I am. I will still take videos. It's just who I am. I like to document things. I like to preserve the memories. But from a couple of days ago, right? But I knew we were about to get a couple inches of snow, and I don't know when the big snowfalls are going to come. I'm not used to living in a place. I don't know the predictions. I don't know how it works. But I had an opportunity to go to take a small hike by actually the waterfall where I took my cover shoot for my book, Holy Grail. And so I took the opportunity and I went out there. It was still cold. There was still some snow on the ground, but it was walkable. And so I went and I was really slow and methodical. I stopped, I closed my eyes, I shared energy with trees. I breathed it in. I just appreciated the beauty. It was magical. It was a spectacular moment. Maybe for someone else, it's just a short walk in the woods. For me, it was magic. It was magic. And I appreciated it so much, so much. On my drive up here to Michigan, I appreciated that drive probably more than any other drive. And it's funny to say that because through this whole gypsy life I've been living, um, I just think our country is so gorgeous. And I think that it is so underappreciated. And so many people are tuned in to the wars and the government and all the things that are going wrong in the world that they have forgotten to appreciate the beauty that they actually came here to experience. And that's your purpose at the end of the day, is to just sit and feel the depth of joy and appreciation for a leaf falling from a sky or snowflake, or the way that the colors in the sky change as the sun sets. And being able to look at that and going, God, that is gorgeous. That's it. I love, 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 love doing things, observing things that I can't create, that I can only appreciate. And I have come to appreciate things like a dime, or when your bank account's low, or just having a warm bed to sleep in, or a roof over your head, or a warm meal. We forget these things. I wake up, especially on a cold morning, and I curl up into my own arms and I wrap my arms around myself and I feel the warmth of my bed. And I'm like, oh, this feels so good. So, yay for me, because I'm getting good at celebrating the small things and recognizing that it's actually better than the big things, because the small things tend to happen more and it gives you just more to celebrate. It gives you more to appreciate. Be open to things. Expectations is control. Expectations are control. You're trying to control how something will play out. Instead, be a kid again. Get excited about what might happen. Be fearless. Get excited about um, get excited about it, like, yay, let's see what happens. What you don't like, you can just adjust and alter as you journey forward. That's what we call navigation. I love this tip. I love this tip. Be open to things. Expectations is control. That's a life theme for me, expectations. And it very much is. Expectations is control. It's saying, I need a situation, a person, place, or thing to look a certain way for me to be okay. And that is what we call control. When we're fearless, when we have faith, when we believe in ourselves, we can jump into things and go, let's see what happens. I'm curious. And allow ourselves to enjoy the journey. That is where I have found the most happiness. I just wrote a blog about this, about realizing that I haven't been happy most of my life, no matter what I've had or um, who I've been with or where I've gone. And it has everything to do with expectations. Because again, on my nomad journey, when I thought I was going to settle in Texas and I ended up going back to California, I resisted going to California because I had an expectation of what it would look like when I finally rooted down. And I had to grieve that expectation. And so I've had lesson over after lesson after lesson that has come with a lot of suffering because I was so attached to those expectations. And it was suffering that I didn't need to go through. And it has allowed me now when things shift and change, like like the way I ended up coming up to Michigan, um, how it like when I left and how it happened, how it all went down was not how I saw it happening, but I didn't fight with it. I just said, okay, I knew it was happening for a reason, and I leaned into it and I said, let's see what happens, see why it's happening. So the more I've been able to do that, um, the better things are. I had a date. There's an episode on this podcast. I think, I don't know, it's the second or third episode where I had a date with a guy. I almost canceled the date and I said, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just see what happens. I had zero expectations of anything. I thought it was going to be a flop and a failure. It was the best damn date I've ever had. Truly one of the best dates I've ever had. It didn't work out, right? Redirection. Rejection is redirection. He probably wasn't the person that he portrayed himself to be, but it didn't matter. Regardless, I had a great fucking time. And in that episode, I talk about how it was me. I was the one because I enjoyed myself, and then he enjoyed himself, and together we had a great time. It just didn't work out. And I've tried to carry that energy forward because that was an amazing piece of evidence for me that when you let go and you just get curious about what could happen, the most amazing things happen. Not always, but when it is something that's uncomfortable instead of something amazing, or a lesson, it's not as painful because you're not bracing for impact. You're just going, see what happens. So I have actually um, had some good practice with that one. And so, gosh, this has just been so cool to share these with you. And it felt like a pressure release. So that's what I wrote and I underlined it. Feels like a pressure release. Having her give me this wisdom. Um, and here's the thing that's coming in right now that I didn't really think of, but it is true. When we have these moments with our future self, our higher self, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to label it, and we bring in this kind of energy and we ask for this wisdom and advice, it becomes seated in you. And that seeding starts to bloom and take root, and we start to have these experiences. It's not that I took this advice that I wrote down and went and did those things. It's that I asked for that advice and it was seated in me, and I had those experiences and were given those opportunities to learn these things. That's that's powerful right there. That is powerful. So if you were looking for another reason why to do something like this, that's it. And it's something that I often will tell people in session or in private mentorship, because in private mentorship, you're held in a little bit different energy and space. But I will often tell people, like, listen, when we get ready to set this intention to work on this thing, that's what's going to happen. You're going to call in people, places, and things that are going to give you opportunities to heal this wound or to have this experience. And not everybody's ready for that. And sometimes, I've had people that get upset with me or, why is this happening? And it's like, well, because we set this intention and now you're going to have these experiences. And then they're like, oh, okay. And so then they almost you know, expect things to happen. And so they no longer like brace for impact or are looking for some magical thing, um, or like it's all just going to disappear. They realize, okay, by setting this intention, I'm going to call it in so I can physically have the experience and embody it and match that frequency, become it, right? Be the change, become the frequency of that in which I want to see. Because remember, first it's a thought becomes an emotion, the emotion invokes an action, the action creates the manifestation. So if you plant the seed, the thought of I want this, I want to have this experience, I want to feel this way, it's going to unlock that chain where you're going to have that. It's like a stalk, a beanstalk, if you will, that builds. And each leaf might be a new person, place, or thing until it blooms this beautiful abundance or fruitful feeling of freedom or whatever it is that you're seeking, right? That's the blossom at the top, but it's got to grow. It's got to be fed. It's got to be nurtured. It takes time and repetition. You don't plant strawberries and the next day come out expecting a whole garden of fruit. You know it's going to take time and consistency. It's no different for us. No different for us. So here's the last part of this that I want to share because it's really cool. And um, there was a time when I used to do a lot of ethereal surgery. Um, that was so much fun. I don't really do that anymore. Every now and then in a DNA activation and restructuring, I will do ethereal surgery still. But again, it's what the guides, it's what I always feel guided to do. So it just depends. And and so I've seen it done on me. Like I've been an observer of higher self or guides work on my physical body. So after I went through this journey with my future self slash what we all now know to be my higher self, I saw a blue sapphire being put into my throat. It's funny, as I'm getting ready to read this, my throat is actually cracking. So let me clear it. Let me clear my throat. It was put in my throat with diamond inclusions. Then my throat inside and out began to turn gold, and it wrapped my neck and began going up the back of my head, creating a headdress with a crown on top. It was magical. Then this gold dress began to form and flow down with gold heels. I suddenly had the gold armor on my arm. I had gold armor on my hands and arms. I also had people all around me carrying the back of my dress and laying the path in front to my throne. I could hear people, hundreds and thousands of people chanting and saying my name. I was the talk everywhere. It was a very cool experience. Take a breath. And it all comes back to being seen, right? Not being afraid to be seen, to being lavish, to being too much, to being extra, to being different, whatever it is. Be authentic and allow yourself to be seen in that vulnerability and watch how magically everything changes and shifts. So I hope you learned or gained some wisdom from my higher self, my future self. Because what I can tell you is I'm so glad I did this episode because it allowed me to see how, even though I probably never really thought about this experience, but maybe a day or two after it, that those activations, those knowings, those nuggets of wisdom were planted inside of me. And it all played out. It all played out. That was September of 21. We are in December of 23. In that time, in that 2 years, all of those things blossomed and grew. And I had experiences that taught me and embodied in me. I became those things. I became those things. And so can you. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next episode.
Hey, thanks for listening. This episode was brought to you by JohannaBurkhardt.com, where it's time to defy the limits of your mind and step into your multidimensional mastery. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. See you next time.